Good evening, good night, everyone. Welcome back to another Juice Spaces Chit Chat or our channel. For those of you watching online, welcome. My name is Crystal. I'm a member of the Tiffany's Identity team, and I will be your host for the evening. Tonight, I am particularly excited because our conversations are going to be centered around inspiring the next generation of Caribbean female entrepreneurs. And me just making that statement, I'm already feeling empowered. With me, I have my colleagues and friends and also fellow entrepreneurs. I have Carolyn, Celeste, and Ran, all the way from Japan. And we're all entrepreneurs. I, however, am the one newest to the fold. And for us, I think we're always interested to know how other women do this thing. How do they do it? How do they pioneer towards becoming leaders in their sphere? And tonight we have a very special guest. Well, actually, we have two very, very special guests. We have Shelley Zalis with us, as well as Miriam Mark. So you guys can say hi. Right? Shelley is the founder and the CEO of the Female Quotient and the Equality Lounge, and its main objective is to encourage female empowerment and gender equality. She's all about mentoring women to find their unique voice and embrace their feminine leadership powers because, in case you didn't know, we have powers, okay? We have powers, right? And with us, we have also Miriam Mark, who is a serial entrepreneur. She was the global head of account management of WeWork, and as far as I'm concerned, she is the sales engineer queen, the Salesforce queen, as what I would dub her as. So thank you very much for being with us, ladies. So it gives me great pleasure to invite you guys to the stream tonight, and we're looking forward to having some honest conversations around that topic of gender equality and really creating a community for women like ourselves to have a voice, to have a platform, and to be leaders within their own right. So, Shelley, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then Miriam, you could tell us as well. Tell us how you guys started and your journey. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, I think the best part was Miriam dropped by to say hello and have tea with me. And I said, just jump in and join the conversation. And of course, as girlfriends do, they said, yes, hello. And what are we going to talk about? So that's what girlfriends do. So she decided to come in and say hello to this entire community with me. So this is how we have tea. We have tea together. So,
Right, listen, here's my tea here. Here's my tea.
so here's to all of you joining the conversation together. So we'll drink to
Thank
that.
you very, very much.
It's great to be here. Thanks for letting me join last minute.
Anyway, so I am the CEO and founder of the Female Quotient. I'm also known as the chief troublemaker, very well known to break all the rules that make no sense and write the new ones as we do. When we don't like them, we just change them. And, it's just not that complicated. It's pretty easy to write our own rules. And I think that's really what it's all about. The World Economic Forum just came out with a study that says it'll take 132 years to close the gender gap. 132 years.
Wow.
Who's going to wait?
Who's going to wait? I certainly don't have the time.
I don't have the time to get paid the same as men. So I think this is why we're going to, close the gap in less than 5. I think Sally can get paid the same as Peter. So, right? And so I think that's what the Female Quotient is all about, is changing the equation and closing the gaps. And I am ready to roll up my sleeves and bring on girl power.
Great. That's great. And Miriam, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been in sales with a pit stop in education, which is actually how I met Shelley, because I taught her daughter many years ago, for over 20 years. I have worked in a lot of environments with a lot of wonderful men who got paid double me. So I'm very excited by all the things that Shelley does and all the trouble she makes, because I made noise, but it was never loud enough. And
why is that though? Why is it that for the same job, men get paid more than women?
I would argue that it's not the same job, because I think women have to work double as hard to get paid half. And that was my experience, actually. Not only did I work double as hard at WeWork, but I actually trained all the men into the jobs where they got paid double. what I got paid.
Oh my.
And it was very
Wow.
um,
Wow.
having said that, I'm really proud of the work that I did, and even that when I look back at my experience there, I mean, other than the pay gap, I have amazing stories, and it built so much of my career and who I am in my career. So I don't come at it from a complaining perspective. I come at it from I want to educate the world that it should be different. And I think there's a lot we can do. And most of all, when I talk to women who I mentor, I say, don't be afraid to ask for the money. It's sitting there and you have the right to it. And that is a big learning for me because I didn't ask. It's on me. I didn't ask, and I should have. And there's the big problem is I think there's a fear sometimes to walk in and say, I deserve this. And men don't have that fear.
No, they don't. No, they
But
don't.
I also don't think it should be up to the employee to have to ask, which is where we're going now inside of companies with pay transparency, that we shouldn't have to do that. And right now it's all about the adjustment. And, I always say the rules of the workplace were made by men for men over 100 years ago. Yes. And the gaps are really just because women are catching up because men have been in the workplace longer.
It's a really interesting point you make. So I totally agree. I worked in an environment where what you are saying just didn't exist. We're moving towards a new world. I once had a conversation with someone I feel very close to who said, well, women go out and have babies and then they leave the workforce for X period of time. It should take them longer to catch up, which I completely disagree with that statement, right? But until the transparency exists, I do think women should open their mouths.
True. Okay, that's true. Okay, sorry.
We got sidetracked here.
We could be talking.
That's okay. That's what we want. We want those honest conversations because actually I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am also in the blogging world. I am a content creator and food blogger in the Caribbean and in my country. And we were actually discussing how it seems as though the space is now dominated by men. And I was actually having a conversation and telling her, well, there's no room for women. Suddenly, men have now become, at least in the area that I'm in this region, suddenly men seem to be dominating this space. And there's no room for like women to have a voice. And we were like, women seem to have to work twice as hard. So this is all so real to me. Because I'm saying to myself, I know I can do the work. I know I can do this. I know I can do that. But then they are not going to look at me because I guess I'm a woman. And also they may not see me as an authority because the men have more followers. You understand what I mean? So even in the influencer marketing arena, there is that inequality depending on the sphere that you are in, and I am seeing it clearly in the food blogging world, right? So this is really chiming. This is really hitting home for me. So with that being said, then Shelley, what would you say would have been your defining moment to then make you say, you know what, I need to be a catalyst for change in this area? What was it? What flipped the switch for you?
Well, I decided I had to be the boss.
Okay.
Because, when you're the boss, you make the rules. And once you are in a leadership position, you bring up women. And once you bring up women, then women bring up other women. And once women bring up other women, they bring up other women. And that's how you change the equation and you close the gap. And today, and pay gap isn't the only gap. We have a leadership gap. We have a diversity gap. We have a mentorship gap. We have a caregiving gap. But gaps are not hard to close when you have intentionality. And one of the things that we are working on, and for me, it's all about positivity, proactivity, and intentionality. And it's all doable. And so I just want for everyone here to know we are going to close the gap. And so it's all going to happen, and solutions are all coming. And so the world is going to equalize with conscious leadership. And it's
intentionality.
yeah, and it's all happening. And when women just, and by the way, conscious leaders, because we have great men also that are positive and proactive. And when we put 3 women forward at the same time, that's how change happens. And it's just about choice. When we use the word unconscious bias, we're conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, it was unconscious. No, it wasn't.
I love that statement.
Yes.
Right? That's so silly. When you use the word unconscious, you're conscious. Once conscious, you have a choice. Do something or not. So just take 3 with you. When you're at the top and you're a leader, bring 3 with you. And once you have 3, the next 3, the next 3, the next 3. Women making 80 cents on the dollar, Black women 64 cents on the dollar, Latina women 53 cents on the dollar. Okay, equalize. And take 3 with you at the same time. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. And close the leadership gap and close the diversity gap. And they're all closable. And caregiving, once we start having shared responsibility at home, that goes a long way to shared responsibility at work.
I think you said something that sparked something. What I found, and I wonder what you think about this, is it was all in my delivery also. When I came in hot and frustrated and angry, all they heard was hot and angry woman. But when I came in, I learned how to channel it the right way and say, hey, I have an idea, I have a thought. Or another thing that I did was I mentored a lot of women and I figured out how to bring them up. So nobody could say they were less qualified because they haven't been around long enough. And I ran the account management team, which was actually almost 90% female because they tend to move towards that direction. We had tons of leadership in account management because we mentored them. We brought the women up. And that team, all the managers on the team were women. So I think that to both of your points, one is if you bring the women up, you make sure they have the training so nobody can say they're not as well qualified, but you don't come in hot because the response to hot, by the way, I'm a big troublemaker too, so I relate, but it's all in the delivery, I think, also, because people don't respond well.
Well, look at Carolyn, Celeste, and Rand. You guys jump in. It's not hot, it's passion. You know, when people say you're angry, say, no, I'm passionate. When people say you're aggressive, no, I'm talented. You know, it's all in the language too. I mean, what's your guys' thoughts?
It is.
Go ahead, Celeste.
Yeah, sure. I really like how Miriam said you have to channel the energy because I think a big thing is women are accused of being too emotional. So when you get really worked up about something, you might quarrel or you might cry, and I think a lot of men can't handle that. And no, there's nothing wrong with that, but I like how you said you have to learn to channel it. So you learn to communicate, you learn to be assertive, and you learn to stand your ground, and you learn to say, well, this is what I want. This is my value. This is what I bring to the table. And, you know, like you learn to talk in a very even tone. And I think people respect that, you know?
I'm going to add something to that. I think you said something really important. There's 2 things that I used to do for the women on my team. One is I used to create a very safe space for them to cry. Because I used to have that problem. You walk into a meeting with women, it's just, you can't control it always. There's a science behind it, actually. I believe it's that women's tear ducts are more shallow, which is why we cry more than men. I don't remember if it's shallow or there's something.
I believe that. I believe that, Miriam. I believe that.
No, it's a fact.
Men should cry too.
But it would be good for them, by the way. But I used to always create a safe space in any meeting. If you need to cry here, cry all you want. It doesn't make me think any less of you. So you should feel comfortable. Number 1.
I think that is so important.
Yeah. Number 2, if I felt it happening to me in a meeting, which on occasion it would, when I get really upset about something, it happens to me. Mm-hmm. I look at the man I'm sitting across from and I say, listen, I'm about to cry. And I don't want you to think that it means I'm emotional or I'm less than. It's what happens to me when I am angry. And what is happening right now in this meeting is really frustrating me. The other trick is breathe through your nose and it stops it.
Kyle says
Oh,
like Kyle.
Kyle,
that's
Kyle, please. Kyle,
Go,
Kyle,
Neil.
make it fun.
That's
no.
No,
nothing
but I
wrong.
I
That's,
completely
By
understand
the
what you're
way,
saying.
menopause, when you have menopause and you have a hot flash, it's okay to go like this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
it
there
should
there are
be.
two things that while you guys were talking that stood out for me when we were on the topic of equality. It starts at the entry point into organizations. There was this one role that I was applying to, and what I really loved, I read through the whole thing and I felt so unqualified for the job. And it wasn't necessarily that I was unqualified, but it was really about how I felt. At the end of it, it had this note that said um, that the men that apply for this job, they most of the times they have 60% or less of the qualifications, but they apply anyway. So if you're someone who is a woman or from an unrepresented group, apply anyway, even if you don't have all of the skills. And I thought that was so amazing for them to include it, because people from marginalized groups, so that's women, people of color, and from other marginalized groups, many times they go through the application and they say, oh, I don't have these skills, and then they just close it off and they forget about it, instead of applying and saying, I could still get through, I could probably ace my interview. And I thought that that piece of encouragement in the application was so amazing. But the other thing, when you were talking about emotions, I come from a technology background and I work with a lot of engineers, and I've held senior roles where I've had these engineers accountable to me. And many times when they're troubleshooting, I say to them, have you tried this? And you can tell that they're so resistant. Like, who is this girl talking to me, giving me
Mhm.
advice on how to do my job? And, like, it might be in their body language, it might be in what they say and how they dismiss you. And I get upset too, but I think I'm more like I've found a way to channel my emotions into my smile. So it doesn't normally, like, people don't normally know when I'm upset or if, I'm just smiling, but it works really well. But if I get really, really upset, what I do is I start to ask them questions. So it's my way of sticking it to them. And most times they end up kind of stumped because you realize they haven't actually thought through their process. They just go with whatever's the first answer. And that ties into women in the workplace, in their roles. They have to work harder to
Good
prove
choice of
themselves a lot
to
of the
put
time.
themselves correct. Yeah.
They're not second Men aren't second guessed. When they say something, most times they're believed for it. But women, they're like, you sure? How did you come to that conclusion? They go through all these rounds of questioning. And it's, your qualifications don't speak for themselves. Why is it that we have to now prove ourselves on top of it more than men do? And I think
Yeah.
that's another, imbalance or inequality in the tech sector. As curious as to Ran, because she's from Japan, what's it like for you, Ran, in the
Mhm.
workplace and even in that balance?
First of all, my generation is like, one generation before you almost. I'm 65, and I started out my work career as a school teacher. So I
Oh,
had fourth grade class, yeah, homeroom. And then I started teaching, and then I loved it. The kids loved me. And this was at an international school. So it's already a different setting from a Japanese school, right? And so I have been quite lucky that way and very fortunate that I was not trapped into that old school Japanese
mhm.
traditional ways of things. But I have heard lots of stories through friends and relations whereby even a person with a master's degree getting out of college from the United States, right? Say they join this huge corporate, famous ones, and then they end up serving tea. And so, like, what is this, right? And then they would do that like for the whole year. And they are so frustrated. And so, in the end, it's either they stick with it and then, keep on going for 3 years, and then finally they get recognized and then move on, or they just leave, right? And so, things like that happened all the time. But it looks like things are changing now. But I am working with young people at my church, and they often talk to me about what challenges they face at the workspace. And many of the girls just really suffer how do I say, non-encouragement, no empathy from the women working there. And so, yes, and so
Mhm.
somehow being trapped in that system, I think that women become more frustrated, and then they are challenging other women as to wanting to show that you are superior or you can do better, or there's this jealousy thing going on, and so
Mhm.
it makes it even more difficult, right? So I mean, I just so I am sort of, through my experience. So this is a church group. So I try to help them get through these kind of things. But when that happens, it really hurts because when I was after that, I started my own business. Well, I was interpreter for a while, taking on freelance things. So interpreting French, English, Japanese kind of thing, and that really pays well. So every time I go into an interview for these different jobs, they would ask me, "What do you expect to be paid?" And I would always ask way high above what a normal person would get, and most of the time, I always got it. Yeah. And then the people were happy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I don't take on jobs just for the money. I don't believe in just the money issue. I do become passionate about certain things, and I have to be happy and be proud of being there working that job. And so when I talk to these girls, right, I always tell them to just stay true to be you, to be
Mhm.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like the beginning of things. And then if some people are just bothering, just brush it off. Brush it off, not to ignore, but to just make a good comment about it, about, oh, that is so petty and unimportant. Or I have more important things to do. Or, um, people have the right to express their opinions or stuff like that, right? And there was this one girl who was really, really suffering recently. That the manager was always picking at her, and the manager is a woman. And so, like, I'm like, this is really, really not good. And so, right now, I think she is in a much better space. I tell her to understand that maybe that person is not really being loved or has problems at home or is really frustrated with their own personal things, right? And so my attitude is try to be nice and kind to that person, like sort of break through that wall that she is creating, right? Because she sees you as a fierce rival or something like that because she is really good. She could get things done. And so somewhere along the line, there is a lot of um, lack of confidence in these managing position people who try to pick on others. So how to break that bad vibe is like a very challenging thing to me for me.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I really appreciate what you said, Ron. I think what plagues some women is that they have had to fight so hard to
Yes.
get where they have arrived that they've developed a thick skin, and sometimes their colleagues become their enemies, and they almost feel as though, well, is this person after my job, is this person after my job? They've had to fight so hard to get where they've gotten. Then at that point they become so territorial, and they then lose, they forgot where they came from. So I think in a lot of cases, when some women in leadership positions hold to that disposition, I think it's because of the fight that they have had to go through to
Yes.
get to where they are. And then also to not having platforms where, as women, we can discuss these things and be open about it, and
Yes.
say XYZ happened and I was totally upset. And I think it's because women don't have a platform, at least maybe readily available to them, which is why we're so happy that Shelley has the female quotient and the
Yes.
equality lounge to give women a voice and to give them a chance to vent and to release all of their frustrations so that they could then become better leaders. I think that is a big, big part. of it. And for us at Tiffany's Identity, we're all about empowering women from all walks of life. I mean, we may be a small group, but we have a big heart and we have a big vision, and our focus really, really is to build community. And I know what you said, Shelley and Miriam, you also echoed that in terms of, you said something really profound where you raise, when you reach where you are at, you take three women with you. And I think that to me sounds like a building block or a system or a model that you're putting in place to try and help build your community. Are there any other models or building blocks that you say will help create a community? Because that's something that we for sure are looking to adopt in Tiffany's.
You know, I always say when you help other women rise, you all shine. And it's just so incredibly true. It's really how the female quotient started. We started as the girls' lounge, and to the opposite of boy is girl, the opposite of club is lounge. If there's a boys' club, now there's a girls' lounge, and we're over 750,000 women strong across 100 countries.
Wow.
And
Wow.
there's no greater power, there's no greater light, there's no greater love than feeling this energy force of women supporting other women.
Yes.
Madeline Albright says that women that don't support other women deserve a place in hell. We say that women that support other women deserve a place in heaven. And just feel, if you're standing next to someone, hold their hand, feel the energy force. Ren, Ren, you talked about that. It's so lonely. I was an only and lonely my entire career at the top. I had no other women supporting me. And, it's because there was such a scarcity of jobs at the top. You all needed to put your heel and push someone down to get to that job at the top.
Yeah.
Look at what we have now. This network of networks. I am so proud to pay it forward with generosity, what I wish I had rising the ranks. I am so proud to help all these women above, below, around me. That gives me such energy. I love that. And I always say the best advice comes from women who have been there, done that. Bits and bites of advice. There's no one woman that knows all the answers. It's women who have tried this and tried that, and everyone has all different pieces of wisdom from everywhere. And that is energy source. We are so much better together.
Together than by ourselves. Yes.
Yes,
Look at all of us. We don't.
I get goosebumps.
Yeah. Actually,
right? I can just give you a hug, and I am going to feel so good. I have that goosebump, and that's the FQ community. Just say FQ, and it's going to be a hug, a hello, and a yes. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you're asking me, but I'm going to say yes, no matter what it is. And that's just what happens. And that is the greatest source of strength for me. And now I'm 60, but I'm still powerful. I still have life ahead of me, but look at all the 20-year-olds just getting into the workplace.
The 20-year-olds. Okay, I'll take the 20-year-old.
But 60 is the new 60. And 20 is the 20. And this is the first time in history we have 5 generations in the workplace.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And
Wow.
we all have value, and we all have value add. And what I know I can give to the 20-year-old, and what the 20-year-old knows can give to the 60-year-old. We are better together. We learn from each other. And that is powerful. And I'll tell you something. Women have the power of collaboration. Men
do not.
Do not.
I
I
totally
believe it.
Yes.
Yes.
collaborate beautifully. And
Yes.
I'm going to say something. When you go to a company where at the top, everyone looks the same, when people ask me what diversity means to me, it is actually not at all about, I mean, it is because it is, but it's less about gender and skin color and all of that. It's about diversity of thought. And the only way to get that is to have diversity of skin color and gender and all sorts of things. Because when everybody looks the same, nobody thinks different. And so nobody knows how to collaborate. And that is why when there are only men at the top, there's no collaboration. It's ego all day long.
Yes, yes. A lot of testosterone there. Just
And I'll tell you something else. You know, Ron, you mentioned that when there are women who are sometimes pushing other women down, it can be frustrating. I will tell you, the best way to fight that is to model good behavior. Show what it means to be a collaborative, helpful woman in the workplace. That is my number one piece of advice. When I hit up against people like that, I just behave better. I mentor more women. I help more women. I help them, even if they're not helpful to me, because they see the power in it.
Yes.
True that.
Yes. I think it's funny. My mom was sharing that the other day. With my brother's girlfriend and my mom were talking about something very similar, where she was in a similar position with her boss, where she was in a leadership position, but she was so critical of the people that are under her. And my mom's advice to her was to befriend her, to make her your friend, to support her, because of the same reasons. She probably didn't have anyone who celebrated her. She probably didn't have anyone who supported her. So she probably felt alone in her role as she rose to that role. But the easiest way to change your mind is to genuinely care about that person, because you understand that this person isn't just like this for no reason. There's a story behind it that made them become this way. So, I
Yeah.
mean, in loving people, in celebrating women in your community, it's also about working with the difficult women who might not necessarily support you or smile with you or make friends with you. It's about loving them as well and inviting them to be able to change their mind, to change their mindset, and to change their approach to leadership in the future.
We have to give a shout out to Keel, though. We love you, Keel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, this girl that I was telling you about, she got married recently, several months ago, not that recent, but because of the COVID, couldn't do it last year. And so she got married this year. And then she invited this not the boss, but the leader, manager of hers. And she came. And since then, it started going better. And they're getting along well now. So there you go.
Yeah. I think maybe in her mind she realized that this person is not against her, but for her.
Right.
You know, I think that's so very, very important. Shelley, what would have been some of the challenges that you would have experienced when trying to pioneer such a change? Because you have to admit this is not an easy feat. You know what I mean? It is a constant struggle, but you have to be passionate about it. You have to believe. But what were the major challenges that you had to overcome, and how did you do it? If you could share some of that with us.
Well, you know, so many challenges. I mean, when I started the Girls Lounge, I was invited to the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is in Davos, Switzerland. It's world leaders. And I needed $250,000 to have my little lounge. And I went to a Fortune 500 company, and I already had hosted a couple of lounges, and we already were well received. But to go to the World Economic Forum with the name Girls Lounge is kind of strange.
Right, gotcha.
You know, it's world leaders and less than 17% women. And so I went to a big company and I said, will you sponsor me? And they said, we would if you changed the name.
Wow.
And the invitation to the World Economic Forum was, we want you to come, but you might not feel welcome, was my invitation.
Wow.
My head said, don't go. I mean, who wants to go to a place where you're not going to feel
welcome? Yeah.
My heart said, I have to go because I'm going to be the first. And being the first is really scary. But if I don't go, I'll never know. And I have to go. But I needed $250,000. The company that was going to sponsor me, which was a financial company of women that ran this women's sector, the diversity group, wanted me to change the name because they didn't like the name The Girls Lounge.
Wow.
And I had a decision to make. Get the money and go.
Oh, right.
but I have to change my name, which defeats the purpose. Or what am I going to do? And so I followed my heart, and I went as the Girls Lounge, and I paid with my own money. And I called a girlfriend of mine that was the COO at Bloomberg, and I said, Jackie, you have to go with me. We're not going to feel welcome. We're going to be there by ourselves. We're going to sit in the shack.
Wow.
But I'm keeping the name, and it's going to say the Girls Lounge. And we
Wow.
just be bold and brave. I'm bringing great programming, and I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll have a good time. And, you know, the joke will be on them because the Girls Lounge will be at Davos. And I called it the Girls Lounge, the place for the 17%.
I love that.
Wow. I'm getting goosebumps.
Yes.
And we showed up. And the first day it was kind of empty. People poked their heads in, and all these men like, what the
Hell.
is going
Yeah.
on there?
Yes.
And our programming was amazing. And day 2, a lot of the women at the World Economic Forum came, and I did foot massages, and I had great programming. My shingle was waving in the wind, the Girls Lounge, and we started getting invited to parties, and men were showing up because our programming was all about, you know, great diversity programming and whatever, and women were coming, and we were packed. And by day 3, standing room only.
Wow.
Year 2, I doubled my space, the Girls Lounge.
Wow.
And Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, showed up in my lounge.
Wow.
Standing room only. Year
Interesting.
3, Girls Lounge, quadrupled my space. I'm now spending $750,000. JP Morgan is my sponsor. Jamie Dimon would call his assistant and say he wants to be your speaker. I started feeding his bodyguard for 4 days. The company that did not sponsor me, the CEO of that company said to the group, why are we not the sponsor?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
We had 5 sponsors. We are 8 years later, 2-story glass house. I spent $2 million now at the World Economic Forum.
Wow.
We are
Wow.
standing room only. We are the destination for equality at the World Economic Forum.
Wow.
That is amazing.
The Girls Lounge is now the Equality Lounge, not because I changed the name because we didn't like it. I kept it the Girls Lounge for 5 years because I wanted women to support other women.
Yes.
Once 750,000 women across 100 countries started supporting each other across every equation, marketing, media, technology, sports, finance, world leaders, cybersecurity, every equation, then I evolved to equality so that conscious leaders, men, women, would join, but not until women ran the space and started holding hands together. Then I evolved to equality, but not until then.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that you didn't back down.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that is like the perfect. That is so synonymous with that poem that says, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? I mean, that is like so inspiring. You think about you standing your ground. And to me, we had asked you this question in the beginning, what was your defining moment? That to me there, Shelley, sounds like a defining moment.
Yeah.
Because you could have made a choice to, you know what, should I take the funding? $250,000 is a lot of money, you know? And then you said, no, I believe in this so much so that I will fund myself. And look at where you have reached now. That is just amazing, guys. What you all think about that? It's just so
But you have to understand, had I have changed the name, I wouldn't be here. And
Yes.
and none of us, I mean,
Yes.
I always say you have to be the first, the second, and the third when you're creating something that doesn't exist. And if I told you how much resistance I got from calling it the Girls Lounge, and most of that resistance was from senior women
Yeah.
that didn't want to come to the Girls Lounge. They didn't want to come to a space with just women. And a lot of women said, I don't want to be a girl. And I said, have you ever heard of a man object to being a boy in the boys club?
It's correct. Correct. They have a boys club. Yes.
And a
Wow.
lot of women, when I evolved the name to Equality, they said, "Thank God. I'm so
Wow.
happy you changed the name." And I said, "I didn't change the name.
Mhm.
Yes.
I said, I evolved once all of you, and only when the Girls Lounge became famous did senior women show up. A lot of senior women.
Wow,
So
that's crazy.
it's sort of a strange concept. And had I not have kept it a safe space for women for 5 years, it would not have been a
What are they
place
doing?
designed by women for
For
everyone. Today,
women.
men
Yes.
put the toilet seat down and keep the place clean, and the agenda is all around closing the gender gaps.
Yes.
When you look at the World Economic Forum, which is created by Klaus Schwab,
Mm.
who is invited? World leaders. It's
Yes.
why there's no women, because it's world leaders. There are no women.
Yes.
What is on the agenda? Climate, sustainability, important topics, but not gender equality.
Yes.
Think about
If
that.
there was gender equality, then there would be change in world issues.
Right.
Yes.
So this is why
There
it
would
had
be.
to be called the Girls Lounge, so that the space was designed in a feminine way,
Mhm.
created by women, and the agenda is written by women with conscious leaders on the panel. There's plenty of men and everything, but it's why the toilet seat is put down, the space is clean, it's
Yeah.
cozy, and there's flowers and there's food,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
warm and it's welcoming, and
It's
you
what
get
women
out
like. It's the environment we thrive in.
and the
Wow.
handbook is an equality handbook, and it was written at the beginning that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That is just mind blowing. I mean, Sally, Ran, Carolyn. I mean, what we're doing at Tiffany's identity, I'm not too sure how we can possibly align ourselves with what Shelley is doing. We could
We're
certainly
aligned.
learn from her. What can we do? Guys, talk to me. Girls, talk to me. What can we do to
So,
be
I
changed?
mean, the first thing I want to say, Shelly, I love how you broke all the rules. I mean, you did tell us at the
Listen,
beginning that you are a rule breaker, and I love how you broke all the rules. And I think that's what we want to do too. I'm very passionate about breaking rules since I was in school, but I've been
cheers.
able to take that superpower and turn it around for good and use it to, impact people's lives. And so I guess what we're doing at Tiffany's Identity, we are trying to create a global movement of empowered women. In the Caribbean, I think the statistics are probably way less as it's the global south. In terms of women who I guess empowered, or women who are in a position of leadership, women, even something simple like women who in a safe, stable home, or relationship. And so at Tiffany's, I know mentorship is something you guys are passionate about, and at Tiffany's, we're passionate about that too. That is one of our biggest focus is mentorship. And so we've managed to put together a team of powerful women such as yourself to mentor. To we'll be having our conference. We're going to be having some radical women who always stand up against the norms. I know we have Kayla Graves from In Style magazine, and she talks a lot about beauty standards, and that's something that needs to be discussed. So we have Kayla; she's talking about the beauty industry. We have Shelley, who's talking about gender equality. I know we have Golda Lee Bruce, we have Elizabeth Carino, who's a best-selling author, and so we have put together this team of powerful women to show other women that it's possible. It is possible to kind of break through your circumstances and be something more than what society tells you that you can be. So yeah, at Tiffany's we have a heavy, heavy focus on mentorship. We'll be having our Best
Conference.
Beautiful
Oh,
You
no.
TV channel, which is gonna be continued mentorship in addition to our conference. So we have our financial benefits, and then we have personal benefits where this project where it means something. It's not just something to make money, but it's something that we expect will deeply impact women on a very personal level. And yeah, I'm really excited to see it. Carol, what about you?
I mean, you put it so well already. But yeah, just to highlight the same thing that Celeste was sharing at the beginning. We're a global community. What we're building is global. So there's no exclusivity in it. It's about inclusivity more than anything else. On the planet, there's 3.9 billion women. In Latin America and the Caribbean, there's 334 million women. So just in our small region alone, there's so many women who we want to bring into this movement with us to form a global community. And so our main focus is on the fact that there's beauty in authenticity and individuality. So it's about embracing what makes us unique, embracing the things that maybe we have been told we're too much or that we're not good enough. And it's about, okay, so maybe I'm not good enough in this thing, but that shouldn't be the thing that stops me from pursuing my passion, pursuing the things that I think are my purpose. But sometimes we need support. Sometimes it could be mentorship, or we could need a friend, someone who says, I think you think you can't do it, but you can. And sometimes you really can, but we just don't believe, and that's where limiting beliefs comes in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're building with the Quality Lounge, Shelley, and the Female Quotient, because I see this diversity of women coming together from such different backgrounds, and they sit on a panel and they discuss things in the most casual way. And then what I found is so amazing is that before, when you attend a conference, you come in business wear, you dress a certain way, and then you see women in your panels expressing themselves in their individuality. And I think that is so amazing. So at Tiffany's Identity, it's about being part of the movement that you've started, and continuing to build on it as a community. Yeah. So I mean, Ran is with us as well. Ran has been part of our team for some time now. She's part of our Discord community and the NFT project that we're launching. And Ran, would you like to share as well?
Yes, I'm just really happy that I'm here today with you and what you have been doing, Shelley and Miriam. I mean, it's just really amazing. And we have this good example, like a model for us, right? Because we are at Tiffany's, we want to do those things. And then in there's that bit of NFT involved and the Web3. And so I think that moving forward, there's a lot of things that we could collaborate together, right? And there's Shelley, you're so powerful, and all of the passion of years after years, and then people are really recognizing it. And now like you said, there's 5 generations in the working force of women, and that's really, really amazing when you think about it. I have a grandma who's passed away. My mother's passed away, okay, and I'm here, and then my children's generation. So in my family, there's like 4 generations until my son. So I have 2 sons, like around 30 years old. And so until they have their child, we're 4. And all these 4 generations have always been entrepreneurs. And so like my grandmother, like was like talking about, she's originally from China coming to Japan, Silk Road, bringing things, silk and other goods from China and selling it in Japan, and she has made it, right? And at her age, I mean, she's way gone, but she'd be past 100 if she were alive.
Aw.
And she was talking about dollars at the time. I mean, there's this woman, uneducated. She hasn't been to school, but she would talk to me about dollars. It's good to invest in dollars. It's like, what? Like I'm a child at the time. And then I got married to a Frenchman. And when we got engaged and I told my grandma, this is what's happening. And then she's like, Ran, what's important is what's in the heart. And I'm like, yes, grandma. And so
Wow.
there's this uneducated person coming out of China and coming to Japan as an immigrant and starting her own business, Really, she had it really hard because I remember my mom when she was 14 years old. Grandma said to her, went on a trip to China and came back. And then she said to the kids, they were 3 kids, so you haven't bought land yet? You don't have a house built yet?
Wow.
Like, wow, how could you be this, forward thinking at that
At that
stage?
time, yes.
Yes. And so my mom has always, told me, Ran, you have to have something in your hands. You have to be able to make money on your own. And you don't have to depend on a man as such. It's great if you have a great husband and working together,
Yeah.
but you have to be able to sustain yourself. And so this is how I grew up. And so listening to you guys, it's just amazing. And at Tiffany's, we want to implement this, right? And plus the NFT part. And that part is really something where Shelley and Miriam could help us to get the new people come on board, because Web3 is going to change the world, right? What you have been doing with the Web3 together, it's going to go much faster.
Yes.
So you're 750,000, yes, and could become the global thing and reaching out to that, how many billions of women there are? Yes.
Well, upskilling women in Web3, because Web3 is still so new. So it is an equalizer, because we need to get women, comfortable going to Web3, just like the men, so that we don't get left behind, because we can write the rules in Web3 and not wait. So for all women that are tuning in, this is our opportunity to get in early, because it's still early. So, Web2, we were late in the game. We can write the rules in Web3, which is why we are upskilling women early to get into Web3, which is why we built an equality lounge to, be paralleling everything we do in real life. We also do in Web3. We're the official partners in Decentraland, the equality partners, so that we're teaching. None of us know anything. So don't think you're behind. We're all newbies in Web3, so nobody knows anything. There are some experts in Web3, but nobody's an expert. We're all early and learning, so we're all migrating together.
But the most important thing is that we need to be involved with the trustworthy people, because there are so many scammers and scary things happen every day, right?
Of course. True. That's why safety and security is so important, that we get in early and write the rules so that they're not written for us.
Very true.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So as we're going to wrap up, or before we wrap up, I'd like to ask anyone in viewership out there if there's a question that you'd like to pose to the panel. I know Kyle has been busy with his fingers, but is there anybody else who has a question outside of Kyle? Let us know.
If there's anything you'd want to add as well, feel free.
Yes. I don't know about you guys while we wait for a question or not. I feel so energized from this call. Like, I feel like I could take over the world. Like, but you tell me I can't do it? No, I'll show you I could do it. You're paving the way. What did Kyle say? His comment went so quickly. All I said was,
all you women are experts in Web3 already. You are paving the way. Much respect.
Okay.
I pronounced it Keel from Keel the Cosmetics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
I want to say something about imposter syndrome, because Carolyn, you brought up imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And so what you were talking about was imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, as you talked about, both men and women have imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, everybody has it at all levels.
Yes.
Right? There are a lot of jobs that I know I'm qualified for, and right before I go talk to a CEO or ever, I think, can I do this job? Everybody has it. So don't feel alone in that.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it.
Everyone has it. Men just ignore the voice in their head, and women let the voice get louder. My girlfriend Wendy Clark says, and this, can I say a bad word?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Not too bad.
So she says, okay, so she says you just have to shut the bitch up in your head.
Okay, right. Okay, yes. Okay.
I want you to know that's what I do.
Right.
After I sit there and I think to myself, can I do this? I say, you can do this, Miriam. You know you can. And it helps a lot.
Yeah, it's like a ridiculous voice because it's the truth is it's just an obnoxious, Ariana Huffington says it's an obnoxious roommate in your head. And a guy, if a job, as you said, Carolyn, if there's 6 out of 10 things, he's like, yup, I got this. A woman thinks she has to do 10 out of 10 things.
Yes.
It's not true.
Out of 10.
Wow.
We're like perfectionists. It's like ridiculous. That's what you have team for.
Right.
Exactly.
Perfection is the phrase. Perfection is the enemy of the good.
Yeah, perfect people aren't real. Real people aren't perfect. I mean, who wants to have perfect friends? They're so boring.
It's true.
Yep.
No, it's true. The friends that we connect with, most times we connect on the things that, our insecurities, the things that we challenge with, our vulnerabilities.
I'll tell you something else.
And those are the things that kind of bond you as well.
Yeah.
I said this at the beginning. I don't know. I think it was before the live stream. When I interview people, I want to know that they know their weaknesses. It's okay to say, this is my weakness on an interview. I think interviewers appreciate that more than pretending you can do something you can't.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I
And even in leadership roles, something that I practice, because many times the people who I'm working with, they might not always see my vulnerabilities. So I let them know that, for one, I have social anxiety a lot of the times, but I've found ways to work through it and to keep it together. But sometimes I'm in a room with people and I say, I feel nervous in this situation. They're like, really? You feel nervous? And they doubt it, but they connect with me and they understand, oh, okay, so it's okay to feel nervous and you can still push through. And I think there's something powerful in leaders being able to share their vulnerabilities, because it allows people to understand that they don't have to be perfect to progress. And I think that's really amazing.
Vulnerability is your greatest strength.
100% agree.
Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. And I think you get person's mind. Is that actually when you see a leader being vulnerable or sharing some aspect of vulnerability, it actually makes you connect with the lead leader in a different way. You see them and they say, okay, no, what? Okay, so it's not me. We are in this together and I am here to support you. I don't know why, more of us don't do that. And we have a question here from Annika Joseph. She's asked, what would you recommend as the 3 most important steps for someone seeking to build and empower women and close the gender gap in an aggressively male-dominated field? Yeah, we need to unpack that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, in a male-dominated field, which is every field, for the most part.
Except beauty. But
yeah,
beauty too.
Yeah, welcome to reality. There's different parts of gender, gaps. So it depends what we need to close and what role you're playing and what you have to do. So I don't want to give you advice not knowing what we have to do. But first and foremost, create and form packs, because there's power in packs. So, that's always the first thing to do. And the one thing language matters too. Like when people say, oh, we need male allies, you need leadership allies. The word male allies, we're only giving men more power. So I hate that term, male allies. So get rid of the male allies thing, because you need leadership allies. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, but once you say male ally, we just made the men the boss again.
Yeah.
Please get rid of that term right away and call them leadership allies. And there's certain things that, we can change immediately. So if you are in a position of power, I don't know if you're in a position of power or not. There's a lot of things you could do if you're in a position of power. If you are, I could give you 3 things immediately. So can you write me if you're in a position of power? Because I would give you different tips if you're in a position of power. If you're not, I would give you other suggestions. But the first is power the pack. Put a pack together and make sure you have a network of networks inside of the organization. so that no one feels alone. Oh, you're in a
Yeah,
position of
so
power.
That's amazing. So many things you can do, right?
So many things that you can do. First of all, start putting people in leadership positions called women and diversity. And once you have that, you can start writing the rules. The second, the whole concept of from a leadership role. Yes, hello, game one. Second, start rewriting how you recruit because recruiting is backwards, and rewrite descriptions. And start putting words in like we're looking for passionate, empathetic, competent, and warm leaders that happen to be collaborative and deliver great ROI. Like, like let's rewrite job descriptions. Like that would be a really good starting point. The third is let's change the sponsorship way that we sponsor because it's filled with bias. We're pulling up people that look and sound like us. I have a whole new concept called proximity ship, which is give people at the level below the ability to pull who they want to see them versus the top pulling up. Let the bottom pull and put.
Oh, that's amazing. Like,
It's gonna change the
immediately,
game.
the people who are managed choose
Yeah.
the leaders. Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
It really starts with coaching also, I think, and educating the people in the jobs to be good in the leadership role. So identify who is like your top right in the quadrant, high potential and high energy and can do it, and then female or whatever the equality you're trying to create is, and then teach them. Find them, identify, and then go teach them. So when the position opens up, you can put them into it.
Yeah.
So I've done this a few times. Like I identify a female who I know has it in her. She's my top right quadrant in my 4-box, whatever, I forget what it's called, like the 4-box or the 9-box or whatever. And then I put them, I give them the opportunity to be a star so that when the management role opens up, it's a no-brainer that they get the management job.
Yeah.
Just mentor them and train them.
And something building on what Miriam was saying, you see like how you talked about the quadrant,
Yeah.
and the person who has the most potential. I was probably the person who looked like I had the least potential because I was so afraid. I shied away from those types of roles, and at the time my manager singled me out and said, "No, I think you can do this." And he kept
In
putting
your
me in
head,
roles.
then
He
you
kept
don't have
putting
the
me in
potential.
roles.
But a good manager sees who has the potential.
Yeah.
That's in your head. Oh, something.
That's if you're the manager. If you're a guy,
Yeah.
you won't see it because a guy is linear.
Yes.
And so,
You made a really amazing point, by the way, on maternity leave that I want to add to.
but maternity leave, by the way, I learned this the other day and I'm obsessed with this because I listened to here as you talked about. I want to change that to care leave, which I'm obsessed with.
Now
Not maternity.
it's called parental leave.
I
now.
know, but I like care better.
Well, so how about this? I know a man.
Gonna change the rule. I feel a rule change coming on. I feel a rule change coming on.
I know a male. He's a mentor of mine. I love him. And he used to, if there was an opening to promote someone, he would promote a woman before, like the day before she went out on maternity leave. So when she came back, she was in the new promoted position. So she had no opportunity to be limited.
Yeah, no, which is
Isn't that
a great
amazing?
idea.
I love that.
Great idea, except we need to encourage men, mandatory, so that we're encouraging men to share the responsibility.
Yeah.
Also, we also don't want to leave out people that don't have children. And what about people taking care of the elderly? So care. But
I
also,
love that.
what if they don't have that and they have pets or they have someone else to care for? And caregiving is an issue today.
I love that. I also think you hit on something, which is a woman kind of has no choice. She has a baby. She's got to go home, which takes her out of the workforce. But nobody's forcing the man out of the workforce. So the woman, by definition, gets left behind and can fall back, whereas a man gets to make a choice.
And also, today, he, she, let's go neutral.
It's complicated. It's become very complicated.
And so the word care is a word that we need to make more visible. And so caregiving is where we are having mental health and stress and all this. just shining a light on the word care, and you might need to care for yourself.
Yep.
So just parental, it's about care.
That's interesting.
Care for you. People need to take care of themselves. They might need to take care of their parents. They might need to take care of children. They might need to take care of a pet. They might care. It's just a word that needs to put a spotlight on that word.
Yes.
Yep.
Care leave.
Yep. Interesting to
Well,
see.
I just heard it. I don't know. It's a new thing, and I kind of am liking
Right.
it.
I love it.
It's resonating. I like it.
yeah.
Here's another one. This is a big one. DEI and A.
DEI
And the A.
DINA.
What's the A?
I and A.
I don't know. Okay.
This is why I'm putting A. We need to focus on it. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility.
Yes.
You know, I have
Wow.
needs, so you just hit right at my.
I know. It's
horrific.
if we
out
don't put the A, we are not focusing, and we need to
there. Yes,
focus on this.
it's a big problem.
I know.
I live it. It's a big problem.
It's true. Accessibility.
Wow. Yeah.
We
Well,
need to add A. DEI and A.
It's a community that's very left behind.
Exactly.
I know. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've
That's
thought
awesome.
about it. It's in the back of my mind, but putting it is so important because that's what I mean. We're talking about equality, right? And accessibility is a big part of it. Yeah, you're right. That's amazing.
So on that note, I'm expecting to see care leave pop up more. I'm sure that rule is going to be um, implemented sometime soon. You certainly gave us a lot to think about, Shelley, as well as Miriam. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your background with us. I mean, as I said before, I feel so energized just from having the conversation alone. And that is what we want. We want when persons listen and they hone in on the conversations that they feel leaving as if, well, okay, I can do this because I have seen other women do it, and I am in close. I'm now in a network with persons who have actually done it. So, for example, Shelley, we are actually on a call with you. You know what I mean? It's that connection is already there. We're not physically there, but already we are networked, already we are connected. And there's so much that we can take away from you, as well as Miriam, so much we can glean from. And I'm really, really happy that we had this call and that you all made the time for us. Yeah. So I don't know if there are any closing words from Carolyn, Sally, or Ran just before we close off.
Well, I would say, I was really happy to be a part of this and even to have you, Miriam. You had such a great contribution. And I
And
think,
Fred. Yeah.
yeah, we touched on so many amazing points that, I can even see the contribution I bring as a woman. I love how we spoke about collaboration. And I think for sure things like that are overlooked, that could be a strength of a woman, the ability to collaborate, but people don't see that as a strength or see that as
As a
something
friend.
that is unique or important. And I think focusing on strengths, because we spoke about that too, and kind of valuing your strengths, because I may not have seen that as a strength prior to this call, just the ability to be in our workplace and, collaborate. And so I was really happy for the lights you shed on different topics. And I'm just really happy to be a part of this network and this community with you guys. And I look forward to so much more, in the future.
Yeah. I think that Miriam and Shelley have this amazing dynamic when they speak. They just amazing ideas
Oh,
explode.
yeah.
It's interesting how you can take one word and you can or one meaning and you can give it two different titles. So like how you have this title of troublemaker. Um, I had that growing up. I was always the one who had these ideas, and the teacher would say this, and I would say yes, but, and then I would end up outside of the class. Or my parents would say that I should be a lawyer, and somewhere along the way, I started to lose that spark, and I started to restrict my voice because I felt as though maybe what I was saying wasn't important. And now we're in this time where you're seeing thought leaders. That's the word that's being used to refer to
Yeah.
people who who think differently from others and inspire others. And to me, troublemaker and thought leader is synonymous because you're inspiring the world, you're inspiring the world, you're encouraging others, and you're thinking differently, and you're willing to stand by what you believe in and go beyond. And I think what you're doing is so impactful. So yeah, that's my thoughts behind the conversation
Yeah,
today.
yeah. I think what we have to lead with is that we should create the world that we want to see. Create the future world for our
For
children to grow
sure.
up in. The world that we want to see, that is what we are doing. We are actually creating the world that we want to see. And that to me that's big. That's not small. That is it's going to take intentionality, it's going to take passion, it's going to take resources, blood, sweat, and tears. But if it is something that we believe in, then it's going to be so with it in the end. Yeah, and I know
Yes.
that you all agree with me. So I want to say good night. Right, Nikki, saying
Wait, I
thanks
think
so much, appreciate it.
Ran was going to say something.
Yeah, I just want to
Oh,
say
she was
thank
sorry,
you.
Ron. Go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Shelley, and yeah, Miriam, for being here. And I feel honored that we are all of us is part of this. And it's so wonderful that the whole, women community of all over the world could get together now and talk about this and actually implement it to make it to put into action. Because a lot of times, words are said, people want these things done and they talk about it and then they're actually not really doing it. But Chelly, with the Girls Lounge, you have really done it, stuck your ground and
Yeah.
you've done it. And so we see
Sorry.
that, and we could see that it's really tangible and it's there already. And I feel like I'm already a part of it, and Tiffany's identity moving forward, I think that it's going to be great because we have people, supporting us, and working together is what makes it all different. Because with everybody in here, there's so much power because I could really feel it. And even though this is the first time to meet you ladies, I mean, it's like I feel like we've been friends already for a while because I
Yes,
could
that's how
really
it feels.
feel that. So I really love that passion, and thank you so much. And I'm happy to be a part of it. Yeah, the movement.
Oh, yes, the
Well,
movement.
good to be
We're changing
together.
the world.
When are we going to be live together in person?
Yes, that'll be amazing.
Ooh.
Who
Where
knows?
are you?
She's in the
LA.
U.S.
We're in LA.
LA. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
We can
need
Maybe
to
meet
do.
sometime
halfway.
next year. It doesn't look like it's in the cards for this year, but I do hope that next year we can.
Certainly for next year.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to all be
Sure.
in the same time zone. So thank you again, everyone. It was an amazing call to say the least. Miriam and Shelley, thank you so much. This is not the end for us. Trust me. This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. Trust me. We value the work that you've done, the strides that you both have made, and the value that you're bringing to us women and the platform that you've created. It has, truly been life changing. And while, even though I have not been a part of it, I feel as though I am from speaking with you and being on this call. You have that way of just bringing people in and making people feel welcome. And I think that in itself is such a sign of such incredible leadership when persons feel like I belong and you empower them. And I think we all feel empowered at this point, right? So I want to say good
Yes.
night to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, our online viewership. The link is going to be up on our channel, so you could review it whenever you like and share it, because this is a conversation. This is a reminder that you will want to have always, in your back
Yeah,
pocket.
and
So good
I
night,
wanna say as
everyone, and
well.
don't forget, stay on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sally.
Yeah, anybody who'd like to find out more about the Tiffany's Identity Project, feel free to join our Discord. When you go on our website, the link for our Discord channel is there. You can jump on, you can chat with me, you can chat with Ran, you can chat with Carolyn. That's where you can be updated for all the news. Our mint date is soon, so feel free to hop on our Discord. We'd love to talk to you guys more.
Great.
Yeah, Crystal,
Great.
you sorry,
Thanks a
I
lot,
took it from
Sally.
you. But yeah.
That's okay. So we're saying good night and see you guys next time.
Till next time. Good night.